What exactly was westward expansion in America? And what did it mean for the United States as a country? All that and more on this episode of History's News. Hello there and welcome back to History's News. I'm your host, Bababadoboo, and today we uncover the story behind westward expansion in America. To help us do that, we have a reporter live in the field in John Johnson. John, let's start with the basics here. What was westward expansion?
Hi, Bob. Yeah, westward expansion was a period in American history where...
Well, hold on a second here, John. I think I can actually take this one. Now, stay with me. Was westward expansion people expanding to the north?
No.
East?
Close, but no.
South?
You only have one left.
North?
You already said that.
West?
There you go.
They don't pay me the big bucks for nothing there, John, but now that I've got the important stuff out of the way, continue with the rest of the report.
Great work there, Bob, but westward expansion is a little bit more complicated than that. You see, it's a period in American history where many people moved from the East Coast and the 13 original colonies to the wild and untamed lands out west. Now, the United States grew greatly, or expanded a lot during this time period, shaping it into the nation that we know of today.
Well, that's very interesting there, John, but I guess what made people do this? What made people want to pack up all their belongings and leave?
Yeah, Bob, there are many different reasons why people moved out west. They could have been looking for land, riches, or just a fresh start. Now, westward expansion happened over a long period of time, over 60 years. So while there are many different types of people moving out there for many different reasons, they were all looking for basically the same thing, which was more opportunity and a chance at a new life.
All right, I see. Okay, well, let's keep going there, John. What made these people want to pack up all their belongings and leave?
Are you serious? You just asked that question.
I did? Oh, yeah, that's right. I did. John, I was just testing you. Okay, A plus for you, sir. What I really meant was, how did this thing get started? Was there one sort of event which kind of just kick-started the whole thing?
Actually, yes, Bob, there was. In 1803, the United States purchased a huge amount of land from France in the Louisiana Purchase. The United States paid $15 million for 530 million acres of land. That translates to roughly 4 cents an acre, which is an absolute steal. Now, this doubled the size of the United States overnight and really kickstarted the push out west.
Wow, John, that sounds like the deal of a lifetime. Did they get it on Black Friday, perhaps?
No.
Cyber Monday, then,
Again,
John.
Bob, it is 1803. These things are not things.
John, I'm going to choose not to believe you. All right, let's move on. So after this big purchase of land, how did all these people get out west?
Well, Bob, in the beginning it was mostly explorers, such as Lewis and Clark, who left on their famous journey in 1804. Along with them, fur trappers and traders were among the first people to go out west and laid the groundwork for the first trails. It wasn't until the mid-1840s that covered wagons made their first trek across the Oregon Trail.
The Oregon Trail, John, I remember that video game. My characters kept dying of dysentery, whatever that is, all right? So it was actually a real trail then, John. It actually existed.
Oh, it sure did, Bob. All right, the Oregon Trail played a major role in westward expansion since it was the route that most people took to get out west. Now, the Oregon Trail started in Missouri and went all the way to Oregon, covering over 2,000 miles. People traveled in covered wagon groups called caravans, and it usually took them about 4 to 5 months to do the entire trail.
Oh, a 5-month trip with friends and family. That sounds like a lovely vacation to me there, John.
Actually, Bob, life on the Oregon Trail was really difficult. People battled rough terrain, bad weather, illness, and limited supplies, just to name a few. They set up forts along the way that they could stop at, and they traveled in these large groups for safety.
Yeah, John, that does sound tough. But through all this, John, I keep thinking something's amazing, and that there was nobody actually already on the land out west. This land was just free for the settlers to claim, and nobody was already there.
Yeah, Bob, unfortunately that is not at all true. The land was occupied by many different Native American tribes. Now, the stealing of Native American land and the extermination of their culture and people was a huge and ugly part of westward expansion. Once the Native Americans realized they could not trust the settlers, there was a ton of conflict between the two sides.
So let me just get it straight. The people who were expanding out west, they were stealing the Native Americans' land, they were kicking them off it, and then they were being violent to them in the process? I mean, that seems crazy. Or what gave them the right?
Well, Bob, westward expansion was fueled by this idea called manifest destiny. This basically means that the United States people were destined to spread their culture, science, and general way of life to the savage Native Americans out west. This basically was their reason for their horrible treatment of the Native Americans and allowed them to believe they were right in stealing their land and exterminating their people.
You know, John, I have to say sometimes history is pretty brutal, all right? But is there any silver lining here that we can cling to?
No, Bob, there's really no silver lining here. It's pretty terrible any way you look at it. But it is kind of interesting you would say silver lining because gold actually did play a big role in westward expansion.
Oh, silver and gold. You know, John, that reminds me of my brother, Yukon Cornelius.
Oh, is your brother?
What?
Yukon Cornelius.
I've never heard of him. You know, John, let's just stick to the facts, okay? You know, what happened with this gold?
Yeah, Bob, the discovery of gold at Sutter's Mill in California in 1848 changed everything. Now, news of the discovery spread extremely quickly, and people came from all over the country and the world in hopes of striking it rich quick. Towns sprang up almost overnight. Many people became miners, while other people opened businesses to support the miners. However, finding gold proved to be very, very difficult, and only a few people actually got rich off it.
You know, John, I believe I found gold in my wife, Susie.
Oh, Bob, that's really sweet.
Yeah, I think it's in her teeth somewhere. I don't know. She never lets me actually look or get my fingers in there. Something about jams or something. I don't know.
Ah, I see you weren't doing a metaphor thing. Got it. Weird. Okay. Well, Bob, before we get out of here, last thing I want to mention is the Transcontinental Railroad.
All right there, John. Choo-choo, you know, all aboard. Full steam ahead with your factoids.
Yeah, Bob, the building of the Transcontinental Railroad played a huge role in westward expansion. The railroad was finished in 1869 and connected the eastern states with the western territories. This was a huge boom to the U.S. economy because not only did a lot of people work on the railroads to get them completed, but once they were done, people were able to trade with other parts of the country. It really connected both sides of this new country and allowed for the transportation and trade of goods across the whole of the United States.
John, I'm going to be honest with you here. I listened to absolutely nothing you just said. But I've got a tea time, so let's wrap this up. Take us home there, John. Why was westward expansion a big deal in American history?
That tracks. No pun intended. No pun intended. If I had to sum up westward expansion, Bob, I'd say it played a huge role in shaping the way that the country is today. Now, as people moved out west into the western territories, those territories became populated enough to become states. So important states that we know of today, like Texas, California, and Oregon, all became states during this westward expansion period. Also, our treatment of the Native Americans, the extermination of their culture and their people, and the idea of manifest destiny are all sad reminders of our nation's past. Overall, it played a massive role in the growth of our country.
All right there, John, that's it. We're out of time. What a fantastic report there. What a transformative time in American history. Thank you for joining us on this episode of History's News. We bring you the facts straight from the past. I'm your host, Bababadoboo. Good night.